Well, I think it's very different what quality housing is, but the quality housing should be of a size that fits your family, and of course also that the amenities around it and what you call the heating and all that it's in a state that is what you would offer or what you would put by legislation. This is the minimum standard. And then, I mean, quality housing would be higher than minimum standard, but of course there should be that you would have clean air, you would have, make sure that you live up to a certain amount. Not that everybody can have a big fancy house, because it also depends on your level of income, but at least this should be a healthy house. I think I would actually say a healthy house, where you can have a life there and not being sick and I think, I mean, what I've learned since coming here yesterday, I think I learned a lot about Romania, and I mean, it's very interesting. And I've been thinking all the way, how does it fit into our social cities? But I think actually that there's something to build on, because they have lived together, and I think it's a matter of it's a good city. It's an all-inclusive city, as we say, but it's a city where you have mixed people, because maybe somebody wants I mean, the entrepreneurs and the city developers say we only want children families because they can pay the most tax, but they're not going to have a totally dead area, because they will be busy the whole day. There will be no environment. You need some old people and some young students and whatever who may not be the taxpayers, but that can actually make sure that you get a livable area. And I know you have the history. I think what I was thinking is like, when I hear all you saying that, okay, everything that's related to the communist is just like done like that, like people, but and I totally understand that, but it's also about you have that heritage and finding a way to find the good things about that, because there were also good things in their life. There has to be, and maybe there are some rhetoric things about, we talk about communities and you hear communities and you say, wow, no communities, and maybe it's different words, but finding out what were the good things, and maybe there are some of these good things. They have tried it, they have found out how they could use each other and try to revitalize it and actually find out the values, because what I hear you saying this now, you're all like dismissing everything's got to do with the communism, but then learning to, I mean, you are living with your history, but learning to find the good things and actually see how can they be used, and maybe the rest of the world can actually learn from that revitalizing of it. And on that way, I think the way we think in social cities, like, okay, what you have to build on, doing something with international experts and actually maybe trying to get it out of the normal environment of you all having this understanding of, oh, what's communism we don't want, and maybe having someone coming in and asking, say, but this sounds like a good thing. This is what we're trying to do here. Can't we find some positive things? And so I see perspectives in using some of the ideas in that and raising the discussion to a way. And I find it very interesting. My main takeaways is actually that what I kept thinking about this that we've been talking about a lot today as well, the difference between the ownership and this that it's so unpopular renting a house and the consequence that it has. In some ways I can see that it's good, but I think that, okay, how do you then renovate the houses from the outside? And we saw on the tour that was also a problem. And so that is what I've been thinking about, like, how can you use that in a way? And I think that was what kept in my head all the time. And then it was actually, maybe that was not a main takeaway, but this of seeing the models of these houses, that all these rooms that were the equal size, and then that was kind of just more like an interesting thing. But this about the ownership and how you work with that and use it differently. I haven't solved that, but I think it's really an interesting topic. I mean, the last one we did was in Hamilton, and the house there was there was just one high-rise tower that was the example. They were working with several, but we saw that, and there it was. I had thought that there was also be this lack of community and whatever, but they had a really high it was getting into the entrance, and you just have barbecue on Sunday, and this is dismissed, and blah blah blah. They had a lot of things in a small common room, but then getting up there in the apartment, they had a really bad air quality, and that. But I'm not sure that the people there were actually noticing that. So I don't know. What they were missing in Hamilton there, they were saying that this sense of ownership. That contradicts with this, because they were the state or the city was wanting to renovate that and wanting to make it. It was very expensive for them because the energy, and in Hamilton it's quite cold in the winter, so they spent a lot of energy, and it was very inefficient, the building itself, so it was very expensive. And the people were not paying for their own energy, and that's what they're thinking. Then they don't save energy or whatever. So they had introduced some kind of systems where some intelligent systems where the heat would go down if you had opened your windows and also put your oven on or something like that. And that worked automatically, whatever, but it didn't make, and it worked and it saved energy, as far as I understood it, just by getting it explained, but it didn't make the citizens or the people living there actually do something themselves. It was somebody else doing it for them. And then instead of introducing some solutions where they would actually be engaged to do something and be empowered to see what they need, and they had the capacity, but so they were happy where they were, but maybe still missing this ownership. And I guess you have that even more because you are owners, and it's your own bill that comes out. So I think we were talking a lot about that when we started the development of the social city. We say that should be an attractive city, and it should be something that you could actually go out and sell to people. Hey, come on, we are a city that actually we take care of the people who lives here, and I hope that be appealing to people's sense of community. That maybe you don't give to any beggar on the street, but most people would still like that, that you know that your city is actually taking care of it and taking care of the people, but also a social city where you would value that there are public spaces, and so it's also an inclusive city where there's room for everyone, where you're not only looking at the housing, but more looking at the home. Because I didn't say that much, but we're actually not working with the category housing, we're working with the category home, because home is what makes it a home, and that's not only the house, but also the surrounding. So being a social city, we would like to have the network of social cities that are cities. We don't want them to live up to certain criteria and do a lot of ticking boxes and whatever, because that's no value for the cities, but that themselves, they want to work with being more social and working with their social sustainability according to their own measures. But then the measures should be defined by the people. So if you say, well, we want more public spaces, we want more parks, we want more something, we also want to make sure that we don't have homeless on the street or whatever. So it should be a concept where the citizens are actually involved in creating what is valuable. And for those cities, we were thinking it can be a way of being attractive for those cities where people don't want to live. You could come on and say, hey, come on, we're a social city, we have all this. Come live here, even though you have 30 kilometers to work. And so, yeah. But it's a dream, whatever. And it's a large scale, but those are some of the ideas that lies behind it.